All right, so I left off a few minutes ago with the concept of Germany being extremely humiliated. The economy is decimated, and I talked to you about the Treaty of Versailles and how it completely punishes Germany and hones in on them as a nation. What you need to understand is that from here, a couple of things will pop up. What you need to look at this map here is that before World War I in 1914, this is what Europe looked like. By 1919, as you can see, we split up some of the nations and created new countries, and they're going to use the concept of self-determination to decide on their governments and things like that. Austria-Hungary is no longer a dual monarchy, but they are all separated, okay? And they established new nations, okay? As you can see, this area of Serbia has become Yugoslavia. You still have Romania and Bulgaria. Romania gained some territory. And these lines are going to be more based off of culture and identity and who lives where. They're going to draw these lines based off if you are Austrian or if you are Hungarian or if you're Romanian. Okay, they are going to draw these country lines based off of that. What you need to understand is that war is not cheap, okay? There will be 8.5 million soldiers killed in World War I, and 13 million civilians are killed. Civilians are people, please make a note of this, civilians are people who are not involved in the war. They're not soldiers, they're not lieutenants, they're not involved at all. They are innocent people. 21 million people will be wounded in World War I. It will cost $332 billion total. War is not cheap. Weapons are not cheap. Medical care is not cheap. And so what you need to understand is that World War I was a very expensive war. And I also want you to keep in mind that Germany was responsible for paying back the debt that was caused. Now, what's going to happen is that Europe's economy is going to decline during this time. Please make a note of it. Their economy is going to go downhill. They're going to suffer depressions in their economy. People are not going to have the money. Territories are going to be destroyed. People are going to have to rebuild their cities, and the nations are going to suffer. During this time, though, the United States and Japan will emerge as world powers, and this is in the 1920s, because remember that the war ends in 1919, and then we go into this roaring 20s, and the U.S. and Japan emerge as world powers, and I will explain to you, or we will explain to you later, how Japan emerges. They're going to have a concept of if you can't beat them, then join them, and they're going to imperialize as well. Another thing that you need to understand is that communism in the Soviet Union is going to rise during this time. Communism is they serve the nation. Everyone serves the nation. There is no I, there is no individual, there is no private land ownership. It all belongs to the government, and you work for that system. There is no I. Well, there is an I in communism for real, but there's no I. It's not about the individual. You have nations that are built on democracies where you have freedoms and rights and responsibilities. When we talk about communism, the rights are limited, the responsibilities are great. You have to, provide for your nation. It's all about the nation. It's not about the individual. And other political instabilities will arise. We're going to get ready to, this is going to play into World War II. It's going to set it up, and you're going to realize that as we go further. And what you need to understand is that is World War I. So please make sure that you fast forward, rewind, and pause as you need to. And I hope you have a wonderful